everyone, and welcome to Underscores, where we talk to the overlooked people in the world of gaming. Today, however, we have a bit of a big shot in regards to speedrunning. Today's guest is Bismuth, a speedrunning and tool-assisted speedrunning content creator. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, before we get into what you're most well known for, something I'd like to ask a lot of the people who come onto this podcast is, what kind of games did you grow up playing?
Right. I grew up in a family with an older brother and sister. So I actually grew up on the NES at first. And then we got a Nintendo 64 on Christmas just before my 7th birthday. So I grew up on Super Mario Brothers 1 and 3 and a few other NES games. And also Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Donkey Kong 64, eventually GoldenEye, Mario Party 3, Majora's Mask. Those were my most played games until age 12 or 13.
And what got you into speedrunning and tassing?
At first I got into speedrunning by just playing DK64 a lot. My dad also really liked to play the game, and he would just play to sort of relax between long work shifts, and he probably beat the game about 10 times, and he was able to get 101% in about 13 to 14 hours, and I was 8 to 10 years old. I was trying to beat his time, and so that kind of got me to start trying to play the game the fastest I could, and eventually once I got on the internet a bit around 2004, that's when I started looking up Super Mario 64 records and GoldenEye and Mario Kart 64 stuff. So I kind of got into it by looking it up on the internet and sort of slowly started digging deeper into it. I found about SM64 tassing in maybe 2006 or so with Silent Slayers and Bob Mario 511 and other people like that. But I really got into streaming and getting involved in the speedrunning community more around 2012 when I found about Twitch and I found HDQ and so on. Started streaming races on Speedruns Live, and that's when I really got involved, was in 2012.
So, before the start of your, YouTube timeline, I wanted to ask, because looking at your first video, the editing and quality is not the quality you'd expect from a YouTuber's first video. So did you have experience with video making before you had even started YouTube?
I had zero.
You had zero?
Actually, so when I first started was essentially in mid-February 2018. I just had this idea whenever there's a new record in Super Mario Brothers, it always gets posted all around the internet. There's articles about it. It's posted on Facebook and all the platforms where you get the most where you're the furthest away from your target audience. And the people always post these ridiculous comments that we often made fun of, how did he get through the pipe snakes and so on. And so essentially my goal was what if I made a video that just took the speedrun, took it apart and explained everything that was going on, so that anybody who has no idea at all about the speedrun of Super Mario Brothers could come out with a much better understanding of why this run is good, how it's not cheated, and so on. And so I sort of had this idea, wrote the script in 2 days, recorded it in my bedroom on my phone, and then once it was completely written and recorded, I was well, I guess I need to start video editing now. So I really took it completely step by step, figured it out as I went, and you can actually see my editing improving throughout the video. It starts kind of wonky, and then at the end it's a little better. But it really took me 2 years to actually find my stride, I feel like.
And when you made said first video, I remember you had you called it Speedrunning Explained video, where you talked about how it completely surprised you how quickly that video blew up. And how much different was your life like before and after that in terms of your career and what you would like uh, consider yourself to do professionally?
Well, the first video really didn't change anything at all because uh, it's true that it really blew up in a way that I never expected. Like, my wildest dreams were to be maybe, I thought that the video did have potential to maybe reach like 1 million views, but that was kind of a pipe dream. And then that happened in like 11 days or something. So it got to like, I think it was 3 or 4 million views within a couple months. And meanwhile, my YouTube channel, when I uploaded that video, had only a few hundred subscribers and not enough watch time to qualify for being monetized, sorry. And so the first, like, usually when you reach the threshold, you can submit, and within a few days, you'll be accepted into the YouTube Partner Program, and you'll have like monetization options. But for some reason, at that moment, they had like a backlog, and it took them over 2 months to do it. So I actually didn't get a single cent for the first like 4 million views that the first video got. And so I just, kept working my day job, and that was it. I I didn't really make a lot of money from that video, and I just kind of left it out there and kept working and kept speedrunning and doing whatever else I was doing at the time. And eventually, I think it was like 8 months later, when the 455 happened, I figured I could do an update video and talk about like the possibility of 454 and so on. And so I made the second one, and when that one got 7 million views as well, I was like, well, it looks like I'm holding something here, and I should start considering this more seriously. And after that, like a few months later, there was like my job situation changed, and I sort of had to make a choice between taking on more responsibilities or like I could leave there, and I had like a good cushion, and I was like, well, I think now is the best time to actually give this full-time YouTube a try. And so with 2 videos under my belt, that's what I did. But like initially, it didn't really do much after the first video. It really took until like the second one and a specific like life circumstances for me to actually like look seriously into it.
So that's pretty interesting that after video two, given your circumstances, you were able to try it full time. So what's that like as for how sustainable that is? Is a moderately successful YouTuber? Do you have to do it like part time, or where are you now in regards to that?
Well, ever since I've gone full time, I've been able to sustain myself, but I also live under my means. Like at the time, I was actually still with my parents, and now I've been living with my girlfriend for 4 years now, and we can like easily cover like all our expenses and save uh, a good chunk of our revenue. So like basically, is so long as like I don't live like a prince, I can comfortably live from YouTube. It's just not like giving me the the whole like luxury life that people might expect from big YouTubers.
So, one thing I love about a lot of your content is that even though you only upload a video like every few months usually, said videos are long, very high quality, and have just a lot packed into them. So, how long does making one of these usually take from start to finish?
I sometimes I kind of try to measure how long I work on videos, like how many hours, and I keep a tab of that. I've never been like super precise about it, but usually it seems like it's somewhere between, let's say, 150 at minimum and up to 300 per video. I'd say most of them nowadays take me around 250 hours, so that's why like it takes me on average about a month and a half to 2 months to make a video. It's essentially like the equivalent of 6 40 hours a week, but I tend to like I tend to like work maybe 25 30 hours a week in the first few weeks of development of a video, and then work like 50 hours a week in the last 2 weeks. That's more like my my distribution. But yeah, it takes about like 2 months because it's over 200 hours.
So another thing just about the quality of your videos and the production of them is that the music in the background of your videos, rather than just, you know, random royalty-free tracks or chilling or chill songs to put in the background, you like play piano covers of the songs from the game that the video is about. And so, what is that process of like compose? I'm guessing you compose those pieces yourself based on the game. What's that process of creating that music like?
Well, I'm a big music fan and a pianist for 21 years, and I really love video game music in general. So that's like a really fun part of the process. Um, Usually, it's essentially if I know like which topic I'm going to be covering, so I think of like well, obviously the music of that game or related games, and I just try to pick like whichever I think would sound good on piano, and I sort of like play around with it usually for a couple weeks, improvise a little bit, try to find a sound that I like. Um, yeah, so I guess that there's like two ways I do it. So that's one way. I sort of like take the music and I sort of like try to understand how it works so I can like change it in a way that I find would work well as background music and so on. The other way is more like taking it literally and kind of like playing it note for note. I can do one or the other. And usually, well, the first one just like takes me a couple weeks, an hour every few days, where I just like play around on the piano and just like mess around until I find a sound I enjoy, and then eventually refine it to something I can record. And the other is more like directly like making sheet music and then following that exactly and recording like sometimes with a metronome and so on, being like much more mechanical about it, I'd say. But in both cases, I just try to like keep the spirit of the game's music, but also like add my own flair to it as much as I can. And it takes me probably about, I'd say somewhere between 15 and 30 hours per video is spent on the music. So it does add quite a bit of time, but it's also, piano has been a hobby for 20 years, so it's definitely like making a great use of that hobby that I've had. And so I gladly spend 20 hours on music for a video.
So, just watching one of your videos is one thing that definitely sets it apart. Is watching your videos, it's very clear that you understand like science and mathematics very well, and it sometimes feels like I'm taking a crash course on some like math concept rather than a video talking about beating Super Mario 64 or GoldenEye. And it made me wonder, like, do you have any professional experience in science and math outside of these, or is it just a hobby for you?
Well, I've never really worked in the fields of science and math. I so I have a well, college is a little different where I'm from. I'm from Quebec in Canada. We have like pre-university colleges with degrees that take like 2 years to get. You usually get those by like age 19 or so, and then you go to university with that degree. So I have like a degree from that college in math and programming, and then I went to university in like pure math, and it was a little too much for me, and I ended up like not getting my bachelor's degree. So I had like a math background, but I've never like worked in that field and so on. I did initially want to become a teacher in math when I was a teenager, but eventually, like, dropping out of university kind of killed that dream. But like, I still had like this knack of, communicating like science or information and like trying to express my understanding for a certain concept. So I already had this desire. So turning to like YouTube speedrun videos that like explainers really actually turned that interest I had in like a new way that I did not expect I would do. I figured like the teacher dream was probably gone unless I went back to university, but then it sort of like brought it back somehow from another direction. So I'd say like that's probably where my background gets me to like do these complicated videos. But usually like my main goal is really more to talk about the speedrun in a way that like people are going to come out of the video with a greater understanding, but especially a greater appreciation for the speedrun and the speedrunners. But like in some cases, like I think the best example is the last video I made on GoldenEye with the level frigate and the odds of like hostages escaping by a certain time. That video was essentially me going like, I'd like to give a crash course on probability with a GoldenEye backdrop, essentially. So in that one, I guess the purpose was a little more education rather than the speedrun itself. The speedrun was more like a pretext to do it. Yeah, yeah, I guess that's what my answer is. Like my science background kind of put me in that position.
So what I'm sort of getting from this is that like even though your original plan of becoming a math teacher didn't work, you have this opportunity to en masse teach people these higher math and sometimes science concepts through the medium of speedrunning, and like that mix of storytelling and technical explanation that is kind of unique.
Yeah. I know, like people love to compare me with Summoning Salt, but a lot of people have said that Summoning Salt is the history teacher and I'm the physics teacher. I think that is a pretty good analogy for our two different purposes. So we can cover the same game, the same topics, and do it completely differently. And I think he has a really good sense of what makes good storytelling for a video. And I feel like I struggled a little bit more with that. So we definitely have like both our strengths and weaknesses, and I feel like we sort of like complement each other rather than compete.
All right, so final statement or question is there some big end goal or horizon in the future that you're moving towards making these videos, or are you just making these and sort of seeing where it takes you?
Well, initially, when I thought about going full time, I thought, well, I could probably, do this for 10 years and then see where that leads me. Maybe that could open me some doors in like video editing or like other forms of communication and so on. It could possibly get me somewhere else but now, like, I was looking back at that last month and I realized that I've technically been doing this for 6 years. Although I've been like really doing it for 5, but essentially what I'm saying is like my initial idea of doing it for about 10 years would mean that I would be on the back half of that, and that seems a little crazy right now. So I think I'm probably revisiting that assumption that I could do it for about 10 years because I feel like I could go on for more. I think at this point I'm just gonna keep riding the train while it's still fun and while I'm still having a decent amount of success and people still enjoy watching the videos and I still have things to talk about and speedrunning is still interesting. So I'm just gonna keep doing it, and then I feel like at some point it's probably going to be like when I'm gonna choose to end it is probably just gonna be the right decision to make at that time. So I don't see that coming in the next few years, but I'm sure I won't be a speedrunning YouTuber at age 62. So eventually I know the end will come, and I've been looking at a lot of other YouTubers who have been doing it for about 10 to 15 years, and a lot of them recently have started moving on, like around that 10-year mark. So yeah, I'm looking at it and realizing that I probably only have like a handful of years left doing this, but I just hope I can make these years as fun as possible, and I hope that it's gonna take me somewhere else that's gonna be fulfilling.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I think we covered all the bases. That was fun. I like how how insightful your questions were, and thanks again for having me on this podcast.
Thank you for coming. This podcast is produced and hosted by me, Sam Underscore. If you have questions, suggestions, or want to be on a future episode of Underscores, you can contact me at samandrew0808@outlook.com. Intro and outro samples music by Bismuth, which you can find on his channel Bismuth Music and also download for free on SoundCloud. Thank you for listening.